In June of 2024, we took an extended trip to the East Coast and visited several interesting railroad locations and museums. The Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania is located on 18 acres in Strasburg, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. The area is beautiful with rolling hills and Amish farms. This museum is one of the best I've ever visited. The museum's collection has more than 100 historic locomotives and railroad cars that chronicle American railroad history and railroading in Pennsylvania by preserving rolling stock, artifacts, and archives of railroad companies of the Commonwealth. In addition to full-size rolling stock pieces, the museum offers a number of other attractions, including several model railroad layouts, a hands-on educational center, and a library. Upon entering, there is a full-size mock-up of a railroad station and its steam-powered train. At the head end is PR 1223. The durable 440 had nationwide appeal through most of the 19th century, earning it the name American. The Pennsylvania Railroad perfected its design, creating the D16 class as the most modern American-style steam locomotive ever built. Bringing up the rear is passenger car 3556. Built for the Pennsylvania Railroad in 1886, the car had stainless steel clerestory windows, golden oak paneling, silver-plated chandeliers, and rich red plush seat cushions. This area also has several model railroad exhibits showcasing aspects of the Pennsylvania Railroad that would be typical of the 1950s era. Behind an old horse-drawn hearse is passenger car 8177, which was built in 1896. As the 19th century grew to a close, railroads were increasingly under attack by lawmakers and the traveling public demanding greater safety. The number 8177, though still primarily constructed of wood, added several safety appliances. These included the automatic coupler and air brake now mandated by federal law. There are a number of locomotives on display, starting with PRR 5901. This E7A was built in 1945. The 5901 and sister engine 5900 were the first diesel-electric passenger locomotives built for and delivered to the Pennsylvania Railroad. Latonia Railway Shay No. 1 was built in 1906. Ephraim Shay, a Michigan lumberman, needed to find a way to move timber as cheaply as possible in any type of weather. He set to work developing a locomotive that could operate a heavy train over light rails, steep grades, and sharp curves, while maintaining relatively inexpensive to build and maintain. He took his design to the Leaman Locomotive Works and launched the beginnings of the remarkable hard-working Shay locomotives. This Climax Class B was built in 1913 and could climb steeper grades and navigate sharper curves than any other type of geared locomotive of its own weight. This 1918 Heisler featured three things that set it apart. The first was a V-type engine similar in concept to an automobile. The second was its use of connecting rods on the outside of the truck frames to power the second axle. The third was the use of a heavy-duty gear case to protect the gears and ensure longevity. PRR 4935 is a GG1 built in 1943 as the Pennsylvania Railroad embarked on its ambitious electrification project begun in the 1930s. It continued to develop and test new locomotive designs. The goal was to produce a new electric locomotive capable of pulling heavy passenger trains at speed up to 100 miles per hour. Test weight car 490398 was built in 1891 and was used by the railroad to calibrate car scales. There would typically be at least two different weights to create the calibration curve. Pennsylvania Railroad 1187 is a typical freight locomotive. These Class R, later H3, steam locomotives became the primary mainline freight locomotive. The Altoona shops built more than 825 between 1885 and 1898. John Bull is a historic British-built steam locomotive that operated in the United States. It operated for the first time in September 15, 1831, and became the oldest operable steam locomotive in the world when the Smithsonian Institution ran it under its own steam in 1981. Conrail 2233 is a GP30 built in 1963. Here are two views of the interior, including the head. Number 2233 was one of the last locomotives painted Conrail blue by former employees of the former Pennsylvania Railroad. There are a couple mock-ups of locomotive cabs, including the famous F7. There is also a Norfolk Southern simulator. It is possible to gain an appreciation of the luxurious interior of some of the passenger cars by looking through the protective plexiglass. Across from the museum is the Strasburg Rail Road. Strasburg Rail Road is a short-line railroad that connects the town of Strasburg with Amtrak's Keystone corridor mainline. The line is used for excursion trains which carry passengers on a 45-minute round-trip journey from East Strasburg to Leaman Place Junction through nearly 2,500 acres in southeastern Lancaster County. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to the channel.